everybody. I have been asked by several people if I will ever do a top 10 game video, you know, my top 10 games. And I actually never thought about it because I don't think of my games in terms of top 10 games, but I thought, well, you know, I could try. So in no particular order, I'm going to create a playlist of 10 games that I consider to be very special to me. That doesn't mean that those are games that I may be playing very often in general or in particular expansions or something, but it's just that these 10 games, or however many there will be, are special to me. And the first one that I would like to talk about is Runebound, 2nd edition by Fantasy Flight Games. It's a game that's no longer in print, but you can still get versions of it, some of them even in shrink. It's a game that had quite a lot of expansions. I believe that there were 5 big box expansions in total. Let's see: Sands of Al-Khalim, The Frozen Wastes, Island of Dread, Mists of Xanaga, and the Midnight expansion. The Midnight expansion being very special in that it was actually an expansion that introduced an enemy player. So usually you have player versus player, but everybody is identical. You have a hero, but that one introduced this kind of common enemy. I don't have the Midnight expansion. I am waiting for the Mist of Xanaga, but other than that, I've got all of the big box expansions. I just got the Frozen Wastes today, or yesterday in the mail. In addition to the big box expansions, I've also got some of the small expansions for the base game that essentially replace the end game. So instead of fighting Margath, the Dragon Lord, you get different end games, but also I have some of the, you know, allies expansions and so on and so forth. And why do I like the game? Well, I like it because it is completely open. You can make changes to it, you can house rule it, and a lot of people will actually consider this a bad thing. They say if you have a game that, you know, requires a lot of house rules, then the game is broken. The difference here is it doesn't require any house rules. You can play it out of the box as is, and even in the box base game, there are different ways of playing the game. There is one that allows you to speed up the game. There's one that allows you to slow down the game. There is one where you can introduce a timer if you like. So they have basically come up with all of these ideas how to change the game even out of the box, because the game can take forever. A lot of people compare it to Talisman, which I think isn't an accurate comparison, because Talisman I cannot really see how you could play Talisman on your own solo, because it has this take that component to it, which makes me actually hate it. I don't like playing Talisman. I remember playing it several times because a friend of mine loves it and he's got every single expansion that was ever made. And I remember playing one time and one of our friends was winning, and I had a card that basically made it possible for me to stop him from winning. And I didn't want to play that card because I felt really bad, because, you know, he's been working and toiling towards getting there, and I could just undo all of his plans like that. And everybody's like, yeah, but you have to play it, this is how the game is. And I said, yeah, and that's why I don't like the game, because that's not how I want to play the game. And so because of all of this, I don't think Talisman can be played solo. Also, I never felt that there was a storytelling aspect of Talisman, whereas there is to Runebound. And I also like that people have latched onto the fact that Runebound is such an open game by creating so many different expansions to it. So one of them that a lot of people know is the Cities of Adventures. So here I've got Cities of Adventures, Sands of Al-Khalim, where you can see what happens in Al-Khalim. Basically how it works is when you go into a city, you roll a movement die, and then you read what happens based on the symbols that you're getting. This is the one, Cities of Adventures, for the base game. And all of them have been made by Warbringer 25. I think this is the one for Island of Dread. And of course there is one for Frozen Wastes as well, and there is one for Mr. Xanaga. Here we've got the, I don't know what this is actually, if this is Mr. Skeletor's rules, but there are just so many additional changes to the game or stories that people tell using the game components, using the challenge cards. There is one for Frozen Waste, which I saw last night, which completely changes the end game where they have made their own cards. It's also by Warbringer. And what I also like is that every expansion, every big board expansion actually changes the game mechanics. It adds new mechanics, it makes the game different, and it feels different. Not only are the cards different, so you don't only just get different challenges. So in the Frozen Waste, you get challenges that are key to a frozen wasteland. For example, you've got a Wendigo, which is associated with the cold. You've got an ice bear cub, which of course is also key to the cold. Or in Sands of Al-Khalim, you have things that you would find in a desert, or you have hazards that you would find in a desert, like drought and, you know, like dying of thirst, whereas in Frozen Waste you get frostbite. But the mechanics themselves are different, you know, and that's what I really, really like about it. So for example, in Mr. Zanaga, you have to work on rituals that awaken gods, and you then, you know, are faced with this god, which I really like. They also have like a roaming monsters track, which where you have monsters that are key to certain I guess terrain types. So every single time they brought out an expansion, they really changed the game. And of course, Island of Dread has the idea of sailing in a ship, and you have sea-related challenges and a sea-related theme, and the theme of traveling by sea. And I just really like what they did with the game, because in essence, the game is pretty simple. The basic scenario ideas and the basic mechanics are very simple. You roll to move, you have certain values and stats, you test those stats like in an RPG, and then you get a result. But the way they have expanded and grown from this basic set of mechanics is incredible. And I just think that they have given me, and I know not only me, but lots of fans, the possibility of just building our own world, or taking the world of Terra North as it is and expanding on it. And lots of people have been doing this. And that's why I think even in 2019, second edition still thrives. So that's Runebound, second edition. It's one of my top games. Bye.